everyone. My name is Michelle Marquardt DeVoe, and I am the owner, president, CEO, whatever you want to call it, of Faith Culture Kiss Studios for Voice and Acting, home of the Speakeasy Cooperative. And our company specializes in helping business owners like you, or people who don't quite view themselves as business owners quite yet, learn how to be business owners, so that we can tear down a lot of the toxic crap that happens in the music and arts communities. And I am here today with two very, very, very cool people. Ms. Leah Partridge, fancier, and even fancier is Amy Morrison. And we are going to talk about camaraderie in the studio. We're going to talk about the value of groups. So as we all know, traditionally, we have a one-on-one business model, and it is always shouted from the rooftops that the glorious, most important, most wonderful environment that you will ever grow in is in the one-on-one voice lesson with your teacher, or the one-on-one music lesson with your teacher. And we are here to kind of push that boundary a little bit and not only talk about the modality of group learning, but how community in and of itself really amplifies what's going on in your business culture, whether that business is a multi-teacher studio, a solo studio, a coaching business, a gardening business, and all of that. So I am going to bring on these fantastic humans. Hello, Leah, and hello, Amy. Welcome.
Hello.
I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you for coming.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you're here. So, Amy, if I would love to start with you. So, one of the things that's really cool and very impressive about what you were choosing to do in How to Run was really make manifest. I'm going to get rid of my name here because it's cutting off Leah's name. Everybody knows who I am. They don't need my name. Was your desire to make manifest this like very intentional community around shifting your business model from a one-on-one business model into a multi-teacher studio. Can you just tell us a little bit about what your impetus was and why that was valuable for you to, I mean, that's a completely different business model. I think people.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And
Yeah.
it's hard for me to wrap my brain around it as well, because it's how I've always done it, one-on-one teaching and one-on-one learning and stuff. And so even wrapping my brain around group lessons is still like, I don't even know how to do that. How do you get the same kids to come at the same time every week? I mean, there are just things that I don't know, but I'm figuring out as we go along. But really what I've determined is that my time and my energy is a limited capacity, and my time on this earth is a limited capacity as well. And Michelle said, you had me at legacy, because this is the thing that I want to leave to my community when I am no longer able to teach. I actually have stage 4 cancer, and it took a stupid forward leap this week. And so I feel horrible. It's awesome. But I have a purpose. And I was talking to somebody the other day about how your purpose can keep you alive longer, which is awesome, because it's my body and my brain and my spirit's way of giving me something to live for. And so I never live like I'm dying, except for in the way that we all do. And I never think that, oh gosh, it is a gift to sort of know that your time is finite, but everybody's time is finite. So having said that, I am excited to be able to spread the joy of voice teaching to other students of mine that I see potential in, and employ and train some of my young high school and college age students to be able to teach voice. I'm actually here at my university office, and I have been teaching university voice as an adjunct for 16 years at this location and another 8 at a different location before that. And it wasn't until Michelle pointed out how terrible I was being paid that it's not the security blanket that I thought it is. And the fact that I've never gotten a pay raise in 16, 20, however many years,
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, go ahead and have some fun with that. And there's no way to fight it. And so, here I am in my last semester at the university because I'm ready to branch out and do something new. And so, how to run, I think, should be subtitled "All the Things You Should Have Learned in Business Class While You Were Busy Being a Music Major," because I had never thought of myself as a business owner or an entrepreneur or anything. And I have learned so much, not only about business and just the nuts and bolts and the hard things that I've always kind of deemed boring, which are still hard and boring, but also I've learned a lot about myself and where my inner strengths lie and what my abilities are. So
yeah, it's been really fun to watch you. And Leah, I'd love to pull you into this. Thank you for that so much, Amy. I'd love to pull you into this because you're creating community as well, very intentionally in your studio, but because you're working with higher level pre-professional, much like yourself, opera track, people, you're creating it in a totally different way. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've decided to incorporate in your one-on-one business model with your studio and your openness, and tell us about that?
Well, I went through the phase of when I started teaching voice thinking that I had to teach everybody. And so I wasn't very clear on who I am as a teacher. I didn't really understand my unique value and my mission statement and things like that. So once I got clear with that, I was able to kind of go, you know what, I can serve, yes, the opera people wanting to learn opera, people who want to have a career on an international level, but that doesn't mean still that I teach every single person wanting to do that. And so getting really clear about where someone is in their process and knowing myself as a teacher and the tools that I can bring to them, the things that I can help them with the most, has really helped me become a better teacher, but also just I enjoy myself more. Like Amy, I also was in academia. I taught at a college level for 4 years, and I found that I was just kind of teaching, whatever the university gave, and I felt a little, I believe that everybody should be learning music. I just don't always believe that we should be giving degrees out for a very limited
Yeah, like
career.
we're contributing to scarcity, and we're
Right.
giving degrees out to people who, and I'll say it for you, Leah,
Please, thank you.
who should not have degrees in this,
Right.
because they will not make money in this. And that is
Right.
not an insult to them. That is,
It's honesty.
it's an honest thing that will help people find
Mhm.
their place for where music can really truly be exactly what they want it to be in their life, which is their everything. But it doesn't have to
Exactly.
be the place that they're trying to make money, because
Right.
that's the crux of it, right? Leah is like, I
Yep.
don't care if you get a degree in this, but you are also going to get a degree in like zoology and then make your
Right.
money and do the thing. But why are we giving out degrees to people who will most likely not be able to make money in this field? I mean, regardless of talent, let's even put talent aside and just be numbers.
Exactly.
There's 100 jobs. Why are we pumping out 5,000 singers?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so,
I said
yeah.
it
And
for
so
you.
now I feel like, yes, thank you. Thank you for saying that. And so I needed to leave that behind because I was being too honest. I wasn't building my studio. I was sending people elsewhere. And so then when I started teaching, it was like, oh, but I am a good teacher and I have a lot to give the right student. And so then
Yeah.
with your program, helping myself define my ideal client in relationship to also what I can actually do the best, what I have to offer has been profound. Huge change
But
for
tell
me.
us, I mean, yes. But what I love so much, and I would love for you to tell people about it, is the practice hours and how
Oh,
you have
yes.
everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, like, because that is something that I think in terms of group learning and community experience, something that you offer in a very unique way,
Right.
because you have the space and the resources
Right.
for that, and I love it. And I
So
want
one of the things that I've been able to do, and is when I went through this program, was to think about, well, why am I teaching and how do I want to teach? And I really want to teach the way that I wish I had been taught. And so when I got clear about that, well, what does that mean? Well, sometimes I needed to see my teacher more than once a week. Sometimes I needed to see her every day. Sometimes I just needed space to practice. Sometimes I needed a group environment. Some days I needed a break. Sometimes I didn't want to see my teacher for 2 weeks. I wanted things to kind of sit. So I wanted flexibility, and so when I got clear about that, what I was able to do, I guess I started this in September. I went to a subscription model in my studio where you can join the studio, and if we have a lesson, we have a lesson. If we don't, we don't. If you need an extra one, we can. And then on Friday afternoons, I have it set up where I open the studio to the people who are here for subscription to come in and have practice hour from like 2 to 7. So they know how to get in the studio, and they can come and they can practice, or they can meet their coach here and they can do a recording, or they can, whatever. It's there. And it's been amazing because I'm not caught up on the hour. I'm not caught up on um I'm a better teacher. They're getting what they need. They're succeeding. I've got 2 or 3 students that have really taken to it and run with it, and I can see the results. So I'm so glad that I was able to implement that, and I wouldn't have done that without this program.
I mean, yeah. And what I love about both of you, and why I asked, why I thought it was so great when you two both stepped forward to do a live together, was for me, because connectedness is one of my Clifton strengths. I was just like so deeply touched by your areas of crossover, even though you have completely different business models. And so you have this passion for teaching the way that students learn, both of you. You have this passion for giving more than just music theory and notes and what's on the page. Like, and I know that a lot of us teachers say that, like we say that we have those passions, but the way you both show up for your students, and what I've learned about you in the program, is that I really see that you do that uniquely in our industry, and it's really cool to watch. So I just want to give you both that feedback too. I think, and that's kind of where these group things come in. So I'm so curious about when you decided to join How to Run, where were you on the whole idea of like group learning in terms of yourselves? Like, had you ever thought about that? Had you ever been in a group before like this? Or tell me where you're at.
I'll go first, Amy. I don't like group learning. And it's funny. I don't. And this is why, because I, as a kid, would always like either be in a group where somebody else took over and I didn't feel like I had any space, or I did all the work. Like it was the pendulum would swing from one side to the next. And so when I thought I did the How to Run, I don't know that you offer this still, but I did the How to Run where it was just self-guided. You watch the video, you fill out the forms.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew something was missing after I finished. I mean, I did all the things. And then when I called you to see about getting into this program, I was actually thinking, should I do this because I don't like group, or should I just pay Michelle to meet me every month? Should I do this or should I pay Michelle? And I thought, you know what? I'm going to give this group stuff a try. Mm-hmm. And now I can say that even though I'm still not a lover of all things group, what I did learn is that the group part is so important, and you can run it the way you want to run it, because you don't think of group like I was thinking of group, which is like we all have to get together and like work this out all the time. The Pomodoro aspect of it, where you can meet and be silent. So for those that don't know, you would sometimes when we would meet, we would just meet on Zoom and turn the sound off and hold each other accountable to doing the work. And having that person there with you to just be accountable to this kind of thing was, for me, huge, because sometimes I don't always show up for myself. But when I know I'm going to meet Amy or someone else online, I'm going to do the work. And then we would meet as a group and go through it all with Michelle, and then several other times during the month. And it really ended up working out well for me. And it was the part of it that I was the most concerned about. So if you have those, it's interesting, because I was like, I don't know. But I also got a chance just to hear everybody else where they were in their process. Because I had already done it in 2020 on my own, I was a little bit further on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was able to go, wow, I could see the growth. I could see the change. And then I could see, oh my gosh, I really need to be hearing all these different sides and points of view and struggles and successes, just to kind of go, oh, I don't want to do that. Or maybe I should think of it that way. Or, whereas I tend to be someone who can escape into my own little world and do all my work by myself. So it was great for me.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. What about you, Amy? Where were you at the beginning, and then how'd you come through it?
I am 100% a people person. I have a tendency to be the person that takes over. Sometimes I talk too much. I know this about myself. And so I try to hold back, but I'm always the first one to answer a question because I'm uncomfortable with silence or whatever. And
or whatever.
For me, the fact that I could be together with other like-minded individuals was really valuable. I mean, I know the voice teachers in my community at the other universities around here, but we don't gather on a regular basis with any kind of intentionality. We've never talked, pedagogy or strategies or any of those kinds of things together. And so for me to be able to grow together with a group of like-minded individuals was really, really valuable. And I really like, the quirky personalities of voice teachers and how we're all unique, and yet we all have this one thing that holds us together. And yeah, so I'm a big fan of groups. I have a group chat that I've been in for 5 years with a cast of a show that I was in one time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they're literally my best friends, but we never see each other live and in person, and they all live here in town. And so, every once in a while we'll have a spotting of us out in the wild, but for the most part, we just stay connected. They've already talked to me 3 or 4 times this morning. So, yeah, so I'm a big fan of it, but because I think that my knowledge, my ability to learn, first of all, I'm an external processor. I need to be able to talk it out or write it out or just kind of do that. And also I benefit from the processing of other people as well, ways that I would have never thought of things before. So for me, I knew it would be helpful, and it was. So ta-da.
Yay. That is awesome. I think, were you, I don't know if either of you were, well, Leah, I know you were in SECO, but Amy, I don't remember if you were in SECO already. Were you part of the Atomic Habits book group?
No, but I read it and love it.
Yeah, I love it too. Amy, have you read it by any chance?
I have not. I have to listen to nonfiction, and I'm listening through a few others right now. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, the only reason why I bring it up, say it again.
Maybe I have listened to it and I can't remember.
Oh, I mean, right. That is a true statement. Did I read that? Did I hear that? I'm not sure. But the reason why I bring it up is because I very much see, and we very much created the How to Run program to ultimately teach people how to think like business owners. And when we think like business owners, we have to have new habits. We incorporate new routines, new habits, new ways of doing stuff. And in Atomic Habits, he kind of outlines, this is James Clear, by the way, anyone listening who doesn't know about this book. He kind of outlines these ways that you can set yourself up for success when you are implementing new habits. And one of those ways is get thee into a group of, like you said, like-minded individuals. And we didn't have just voice teachers in this cohort. We had a web designer. We had basically a landlord. So remember Jody Ann's business model. She ran essentially a co-op, like a co-working space. That was what she was transitioning to. And then we had like some people who were going into corporate work and public speaking, not just like traditional singing as well. But there's that through line of like, I want to learn how to be a business owner, knowing that I have a creative personality, knowing that I have a background in some of these very deeply ingrained scarcity mindset concepts, knowing that I have all of these musical experiences that have shaped me and created who I am. And doing that in a group, I have to create all these new habits. Like I have to, oh my gosh, I have to like think about my schedule of my day now, because I have to think about when I'm going to do my budgeting and my bookkeeping, and think about when I'm going to do my marketing plans, and think about when I'm going to write da da da. And that's one of the things that I think is so powerful about groups in general, is when we choose to commit to outcomes together, even if they're not the exact same outcomes. When we have other people who have committed to those outcomes as well, we really can get a lot more done a lot quicker. And someone said last week, 10 months, Robin was saying, I know that at the beginning, 10 months seems like a long time. But I'm so curious how you both feel about, this idea of getting habits done quicker, but the program's 10 months. Did you feel like it was long or short, Leah and Amy?
I felt like it was short.
I felt like it was long because it was hard. And I keep a pretty tight schedule, like minute to minute. And so for me to carve out that much time to work on homework and to work on my business was challenging, is challenging, because I still do it. But it's so fun to look back. Like I went to visit the Small Business Development Center in my community to help me nail down the last little pieces of details before I get a loan to put down an offer on a property this week, and which is all very exciting. But I was able to speak the right language when I went in to talk to him. And it was so gratifying to be able to be like, yes, I do know what an LLC is. And I do know that I want employees instead of contractors. And, they didn't have to try and convince me one way or the other, because I already had done the work and I knew what I needed. And so just learning to speak the speak was so valuable to me. And just to see how far I've come in a 10-month, 1-year time period is amazing, because that's stuff I just didn't know before.
Yeah.
So, long and short.
Right. I felt like it was short only because I know that it's a living, breathing thing that's going to continue to change, because it has already. I mean, I'm already thinking about the offers that I have and how they need to shift. And some of the things that I did, I did this group performer practice circle, and it's somewhat successful, but it needs to be tweaked. And so I need to kind of go back and look at some of my marketing and probably go back through that chapter and think about my ideal client again, and why, is this, what value is this bringing? Is it really, and ask questions to some of my students and people who've been interested in it, more about what they need, or so it keeps moving around. And so, it was short in that sense. It's like, I mean, and I'm starting another business, which, Michelle, I haven't told you, but I am.
It's exciting!
moving forward with my flower farm.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I've been waiting for
Now.
this.
It's real. And I found a name, and
What is it?
it's
Can we know?
called, okay, drum roll. It's called Etheridge Sage. It's named after my grandmother and my favorite voice teacher. Her name was her last name was Sage, Patricia Sage, and my grandmother who taught me to sing. And it's a flower farm, but it's also got the component of homemaker practice. Like, think of practice as in like people who practice law or practice medicine. Why
Yeah.
don't we call what we do a practice?
Yes.
So I'm thinking of like it's homemaker practice and all things that are wholesome and what my grandmother would have sat around doing in addition to flowers. So it's evolving. I'm using my H2RA book to kind of go back and define all these things. And I'm hopefully going to do a flower subscription for this summer.
I love it.
Having all the feels that I had when I launched everything with the voice studio, but I feel like, it's totally time and it's doable, and I feel like I can manage it now because I've gone through this. So thank you.
I'm going to cry. I hate when I'm going to cry on these things. But like, first of all, we've been talking about this flower business for like years. So
yeah.
I am so thrilled that congratulations. This is amazing.
Thank you.
And I am so honored that you recognize. I feel like mission accomplished.
I cut you flowers, but you can't see it in my thing. So that's
I love
from Michael.
that.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And we see pictures of this on your Instagram, but I just want to thank you for saying without prompting at all, I'm using my H2RA materials to do this business, because that is the point of H2RA. It is not a system for voice teachers. It's not do my system and everything's going to be perfect for you. This is business speak, like Amy said. This is the real deal.
No, it's exactly like what Amy said about it's like I've been to business school. I mean, and it's a great formula. And what I love about it is that it's the speak that we're used to. Like we talk about it through voice and creative and what we do to perform and all this. So it makes great sense for those of us who have been on stage so many times or work with singers, but you can apply it to anything that you're doing. Yeah. I am going to have to pick Amy. Like I'm going to have to do the thing that Amy did with like hiring people, because I can't do this by myself. So that's next.
Yeah. And then, we'll talk about getting you into the team-based program as well. Right. But Amy, what were you going to say?
I just said it's like business school, but with like creative people. And so that's really fun, Yeah. Okay. I said less boring people, but that just is an assumption on my part that if you go to business school, you're boring. That's not always true. Always.
Right. So it's interesting because the last email that I sent out that I actually announced this live was, do you need an MBA or not? And it's funny that you'd both say like it's like going to business school, but for creative people, because what's kind of interesting about an MBA and business school is that, there's so many programs now. Ooh, how did I do that? There's so many programs. What is happening? My own hair is not doing whatever. There's so many schools out there that are developing like online MBAs and like stuff like that. And I've been researching them because I thought, oh, well, maybe I'll get an online MBA, get some letters, maybe, I don't know, it'll be fun. I can get more precise about like my consulting and accounting part of my business, all of that. But it's so fascinating because when I look through their like syllabus and like their descriptions of their courses and everything, it is so 5 years ago. And so the benefit of getting to be in, I think the benefit that I didn't even realize that I was creating until recently was we're reviewing everything every year. We're following trends. So like when you're in your marketing module, it's not the same marketing module as it was in 2019 before the pandemic.
Right.
It's not even the same marketing module. Like, I'm already looking at 2023 trends. We're already looking at 2023 social media trends and updating the module for 2023, but stuff like that. And I really appreciate you saying that you can apply it to every business, because what if you don't want to do this forever? Right?
Well, I think for me, that was kind of the thing. It's not that I don't want to teach forever. It's just, I just know that I'm sorry, I'm having some situations with my light fixed and I don't know what's happening. So if I look weird, that's fine. Sorry. But I do know that I want to teach forever, but I want to teach the right thing forever. And so if I get my studio lined up running the way that I want it to run and I'm clear, I'm not having to kind of recreate the wheel all the time that I felt like I kind of did in the last 3 years. It's kind of
Yeah.
like I get really super clear, and it's, I've got my systems in place. When someone asks for lessons, I kind of know what I'm doing. I know what I'm offering. I know how I'm going to send that email, and it just kind of runs itself so that now I can start this other thing and I'm not having to spend so much time on, the other business.
Yeah.
Getting systems in place has been an absolute game changer for me.
Huge.
Yeah, just being able to have, like, taking the time to write, when you write an email to somebody, then saving it and using as a template for the next time somebody inquires. And one of the reasons that I wanted to start a multi-teacher studio is that I get inquiries every single day for lessons and can't take them. And
Mhm.
so there's such a demand in my community. And yeah, I've got like 4 or 5 emails to respond to just from the weekend that I have to catch up on. And yeah, and the other thing I wanted to say about the group element of thing, and how that's going to be kind of incorporated into my business,
Yeah.
is that I really want the whole studio to feel like they belong to something bigger. And so, like, some of the ideas that I've had, of course, include things like group teacher training, so that we're bouncing ideas off of each other, so that if you get stuck with somebody, you can just pop across the hall, whether that's to me as a mentor kind of figure or to another teacher, and say, hey, what would you do with this situation? So
Yeah.
that, and that's some of that scarcity mindset that we've just held to ourselves and been like, oh, well, I'm the genius and I know how to fix that problem. But everybody's problems are different, really. Or when you can say, oh, I have run into this before, it's rare,
Yeah.
so special. And but also the idea that, like, I want to have a TV in the lobby, because my ideal client are all musical theater kids, and there are gobs of them in my little South Dakota town. It's not a little town, we're a big town for South Dakota. We're about 300,000, Sioux Falls. And there are shows going all the time. I want to buy blocks of tickets for our studio to go to together to each other's shows,
Yes.
and, like, have announcements. Who's in what this week? Who wants to go? I have tickets for you. Let's go together. We'll wear our t-shirts. It'll be marketing. It'll be great. So, but that idea of supporting each other, it just is always stunning to me when I see my students one-on-one and they don't know each other. And I'm like, oh, I know you all so well, and the only time you ever see each other is on the recital at the end of the year. And so I want, because they're also like-minded in a lot of ways, I want them to get to know each other too. So a lot
Yeah.
of them, because of the shows and stuff that they're involved in, but I want this to be another connecting point.
I mean, yeah. Yes.
Love it.
It is. I love it. I just love it. And truly, a rising tide raises all ships. And this idea of the scarcity mindset, we so vehemently oppose that. Like, I oppose it, like, in my bones.
This concept, though, has been a game changer for me, because I do feel like we're all like, we hoard our information and don't want to share it unless you're paying for it, kind of a thing, or don't want to. What's the point in that, right? Let's make everybody better. Let's raise our rates so that everybody can raise their rates. Let's show ourselves that we have value, so that our students know that what we do has value, and it might be something they want to explore as we go down the road.
Yeah.
My piano teacher was my same piano teacher from second grade to 12th grade. And I think she charged $2 a week the entire time. I don't want to live like that. She had 80 students a week and she had a part-time job at an elementary school. That's crazy talk.
You know, Leah and I have had some really good conversations about scarcity mindset as well. And I know that we're veering off a little bit from our topic, but let's go there because this is the real deal. So scarcity is a real economic principle, right? Like that is a thing. It's not like it doesn't exist. Scarcity is when the desire and need for something outweighs how you can get it, essentially, right? But it has been really pulling around to what you just said at the what I spoke for you, Leah, at the beginning, which is we are creating scarcity in the market economically. University programs are creating scarcity, making it worse economically. Well, if you're going to do that, if the machine is going to continue to do that, then those of us out of the machine, or maybe because I'm not here to tell the machine how to change, that's for other people to do. But we who are not in the machine have to teach these people how to unlearn that unlearn that. Because now they get spit out into out of these programs and they're not stupid. These kids are not dumb. They know that they have like a 1 in 6 gazillion chance of making it. And again, it has nothing to do with talent or skill. These are the best of the best, just because it's a numbers game. So then when they get out, we have to address all of those traumas, because that is trauma. Scarcity mindset creates trauma. It creates a need to hoard, like you said, Amy. It creates a need to hold on tight, to
And
not
people please and
people
leave
please.
yourself behind.
Yes.
Ugh.
Say yes to things, like compromise your core values, compromise your boundaries, compromise your faith or your spirituality in some cases. And Leah, you're doing a fucking fantastic blog series on all of this out of your experiences. And it causes us to run away. I mean, not to tell anybody's business, but like it causes us to run away from talking about money. It causes us to have kind of la about budgeting. And, we have this gross relationship with money. And so we impose all of these things. And then scarcity doesn't even just show up in money. It shows up in how you market. It shows up in how you share information. It shows, right? And so it's interesting that you both bring it up. Do you feel, I'm so curious, this could be a very stupid question for me to ask in public without telling you I was going to ask it first. Because who knows what the answer is going to be. But do you feel like we addressed that head on in How to Run?
Oh, all the time. At least, I mean, yeah, in How to Run, but definitely in just the speakeasy group itself. Like, I think
I would say, yeah, it's
absolutely.
a second for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, maybe we need to be even more intentional about calling out when we see it in How to Run, like when people are making decisions based on scarcity. We try to, but that's a good feedback.
I seem to remember a unit about money and addressing money traumas. And I might have this mixed up with another thing that I'm sort of doing, but I uncovered a lot of things that I had been associating with money, like failed relationships.
Yes.
If you're successful in your business, you must be boring. Things that I had associated in my brain with money that that I didn't realize were traumas. And that came out of this time as well. And so it was addressed, as far as that goes.
That's right.
Yeah.
We do
Mindset.
have that whole money mindset module.
Yeah. But I also think that it goes into the idea of like when you're thinking about your ideal client and you think, well, how can I only market to that? I'm going to leave all this other money on the table. For me, when I started
Yeah.
HTRA, I was teaching 6 small children. I no longer teach children anymore. I love teaching those children, but that's not my ideal client. But when I made that decision to tell them, do you remember how
Yeah.
awful that was to me? And
I
I was worried
do.
about it and all of that. And I was like, how can I get rid of 6 clients with not knowing whether that was going to come back in? And that's part of that scarcity idea that, I'm not doing enough or I'm not going to get that back. But, through this program, I was able to see, no, if I'm clear about what I'm doing and who I am, it will come. I didn't just keep hoarding on to something and just clinging out of fear, trusting I'm doing the work. I'm running a business. It's going to work. So
And
that's what I took away from it.
yeah, thank you for saying that. I just want to address some of these comments that have been coming in while we've been chatting, because I got all involved in our conversation and forgot to look at the comments. um first of all, Liz Jackson Hearns, just so you know, here for the hiring conversation. So when it's both time, Amy, when you get more into the hiring, I mean, this kind of isn't relevant. Well, it's kind of relevant for the live, but both of you, we do now I brought in 2 more coaches that are team-based business in addition to myself. So we have that hiring aspect now that we can really go through for both of you as speakeasy members and other things. So just know that that's coming. And then, yeah, I love this. Liz heard what you said earlier, Amy. Not exactly the security blanket that we were hoping for. And hey, Rebecca, go ahead, Amy, say it.
So one of the things about that is that it's always been, well, that's daytime work I can do, right? Because my school age students, I can only teach after school, which for me is just a tiny little sliver of time because I'm still an active performer. So I'm still in evening rehearsals every night of the week.
Sure.
I'm a crazy person, by the way. And so for me, that was a way to like, well, that's how I can make money during the day. Otherwise, I'm just sitting around doing nothing all day long, and recognizing that there are homeschooled students, there are adults, there are young adults who have flexible schedules. There are people who will still come during the day. And so, yeah. And the fact that I'll get to pick my clients as opposed to the university assigning me my clients. So both of those things.
Yeah. And as your business grows, you will not be teaching anyway, which is a few years down the road and all of that. But that's part of it too, is like you're shifting what the work is. And I think a lot of independent musicians, gig workers, studio owners, we very much mistake the one-on-one time for the work. That's not, and E-Myth Revisited, classic, everyone, it's like, you should read it on principle kind of thing. But, just because you know how to make cupcakes doesn't mean you know how to run the bakery.
For sure.
And once you have that real aha moment where you're like, oh, the cupcakes aren't going to sell themselves. The cupcakes, I only got one oven. I can only make X amount of cupcakes at one time. Oh, I got a budget for cupcakes. Liz Jackson is say it again. What is it? The cupcakes? Just because you know how to make cupcakes doesn't mean you know how to run a bakery.
And I only have one oven.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want people to be stuck with one ovens, right? Catherine is saying that students love that community aspect. You're absolutely right, Catherine. So what would you say to anyone who is considering this program? That's kind of what we'll finish out with.
Okay, I'm going to say first off that I'm cheap and I'm poor. And and it's because of the way I ran my business. And so I am not one
and I'm poor.
My husband is a pastor. We were both music majors in college. Our FAFSA, just they return and say, "Oh, I see your parents are dreamers." So this is not a small amount of money for me. This was a big investment, and yet it has changed the way that I've done business for the last 3 years since I joined SECO or learned about Michelle's stuff and then kind of fiddled around with the idea of joining SECO because it was expensive. I have earned so much more every year, like incrementally more every year. And it's getting around to tax time. And so that it's worth it and there's value to it. And make the sacrifice because you will be better for it. There.
Yeah,
I agree.
I love it. Leah, what would you say?
I would say that if you find yourself, I think one of the biggest things for me was that I always knew that I was going to be a teacher. But when I found SECO, I was miserable being a teacher. And I didn't like that I was miserable being a teacher. And then it dawned, then as I began to work through all these things, I began to understand I'm not miserable being a teacher. I'm miserable in my business. I'm miserable in the way that I'm running this thing. I'm great when I'm in with my students, right? I'm great when I'm there with the right student. And so there was never any kind of explanation when you're in music school as to what kind of teacher you could be, business owner you can, nothing. It was just all about what's the rule for Mozart style or, so where else are you going? This is something that you need if all of you, you're going to teach. Most of the time you get a music degree, you're going to teach and you should teach and it's a wonderful thing, but you don't have to be miserable in it and you don't have to be poor. You don't have to, you can make it run the way you need it to run to suit your life, as your life changes, as you grow as a person, I'm growing into this next thing and I know that I'm about to, is everybody here?
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, you just shifted on me. I just know that I'm about to, shift again and I'm going to be able to do it and it's going to be fine, because I have some skills and tools in my belt and a team. And let me go back to what I said about not liking group work. When I taught on the university level, one of the things I loved the most was that I had colleagues. So it's not that I don't like, I love people and collaborating. It's just that when I'm filling out questionnaires and doing brain stuff, I like to typically do that in quiet with my own stuff. And so being a part of Speakeasy is wonderful because you feel, as if you're a voice teacher and you teach at home, you don't see anybody. You can just be you, but you always have pull that Facebook up, pull the Slack channel up and just feel like you're, working with others and tossing ideas around. It's a great thing to have. And so, do it. It's going to change your business. It'll make you happier.
It'll make you happier.
Yeah.
When fixing your business makes you happier.
Yes.
Because we spend so much time working on our businesses. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting you say this about you don't learn this in music degree. And I know Sarah did a live on her stuff a few weeks ago about not learning this. And I'm like, this is another example of how that scarcity mindset shows up in the entire industry. Why are we not big? And you want to know why? It's because there's nobody that can teach that class.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody can teach the class.
Well, you could teach the class. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you won't get real funky now. yes, I could teach the class, but they don't value it enough to pay me the right amount of money to teach that
Exactly.
class to truly bring the return on investment.
Right. No.
So it's interesting because, like, let's call the spade the spade. Yeah, it would be great to have, all of these business courses available to university students in all places. I know some places are doing it. Of course, hashtag not all colleges, I guess. But, the reality is they are not taking it seriously. And then because I've had the students come, and there are young people in SECO who are like, yeah, we had a business course. I'm like, great, what'd you learn? And they did not learn anything about ideal client. They literally were just vomiting the thing that they saw in like their local teacher stuff. Or whatever their teacher did when they were growing up. They didn't talk about pricing. They didn't talk about money. They didn't talk about writing a business plan. They didn't talk about marketing. They were like, well, you could just be on social media. Like, nothing that was actually going to get people what they need in order to do this. And so, I mean, obviously I'm very, very I have lots of feelings about it. So we've got Liz is here. Thank you. Yes. So tangible ROI. People don't like to talk about tangible ROI. Leah, what you're doing in your voice studio brings tangible ROI to your students.
Yes.
Because
so that they leave and go do the things that they want to do.
right.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's it.
Yeah. And
awesome.
it's the same, Amy. What you are teaching, those teachers that you are going to mentor and teach how to teach, tangible ROI.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we teach people how to make money. If that makes you uncomfortable, don't be in my sphere. Just don't, because I will teach you how to make money. I'm like Ramit Sethi's brand. Like, I don't know if y'all know Ramit Sethi, but he is
Yes.
He's a money
like
guy.
him.
And I love the title of his book is I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And he's I really like his outlook on money stuff. He's fun. Liz is just like going cool with like all these comments. That part, Leah, the teaching and the business are different things that both impact fulfillment. Amen.
Yes, it's true. That you can't. Yes.
And can I say one thing about the
Yes.
whole, like, well, if you're going to run this multi-teacher studio, you don't get to teach all the students, right? Or you don't get to teach maybe even at all. And that has been a brick wall I've run up against a lot. And a couple of us cried about that very issue at SECO Live together. And because I love teaching, I love the one-on-one work. But the idea of being able to do that one-on-one work with my teachers and continuing a relationship into a deeper way is the way that I will still be able to continue that type of growth and mentorship into people that I love and care about. And so, and I can pop in here and there, but I don't have to be the one responsible person for that entire lesson. So I feel like instead of just having this number of kids that I'll have grandkids.
Right. Grand clients.
Grand clients,
and
yes.
And the grand clients. That's true. And as we expand what our callings are, essentially, we get farther and farther removed from the end user, but that's not necessarily bad. And I think because this industry has such a one-on-one is what works mentality, there is a strong resistance to growth because people will have to let go of some of the things that they have found their identity in and find new ways to explore the identity, whether that means opening a flower business in addition, or opening a multi-teacher studio, or going into a completely different field of life coaching or website design or body work or whatever. And one of the things that I am so honored that you would share your time with us today is that your time is valuable. Your time on this earth, Amy, like you were saying, your time on this earth is so valuable. And I'm so glad that you chose to accelerate your ability to make impact with your time on this earth by being part of the How to Run 2022 cohort. Rebecca Poff is here and she's saying, I finally realized my education was mostly to the benefit of the university. And my response to that is, that's exactly why we're doing what we're doing, because we want your education here. We want your experience in the Speakeasy Cooperative in all of our programs to be to your benefit, because a rising tide
That's all.
raises all the ships.
I have someone knocking on my door.
Okay, it's time to go. Leah and Amy, thank you so much for your time today. You are amazing humans, and I'll see you inside Speakeasy Cooperative. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. See you next time.